Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We are continuing to follow breaking news from Los Angeles. The Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon is holding a news conference on the Menendez brothers. The DA is giving an update on the convictions of Erik and Lyle Menendez. The Menendez brothers have spent nearly 35 years in prison for killing their parents, Kitty and Jose Menendez. I want to take you there now. Now, again, we've been taking this feed in. There are a number of hits and imperfections in it. We apologize for that. The feed is not ours. We can only take in what is sent out. So let's take a look.
We've also got evidence that was provided by the defense, by his lawyers, that one of the members of the Menudo band alleged that he was molested by the father. None of this information has been confirmed. We are not, at this point, ready to say that we either believe or do not believe that information. But we're here to tell you that we have a moral and an ethical obligation to review what is being presented to us and make a determination based on the resentencing side, whether they deserve to be resentenced, even though they were clearly the murderers, because they have been in prison for 35 years and they have paid back their dues to society, or whether habeas is appropriate if there was evidence that was not presented to the court at that time, and had that evidence been presented, perhaps a jury would have come to a different conclusion. I don't think there is any question in this case that the boys, or the young men, one was 19, the other was 21 at the time, that they murdered their parents. I think that's factual, it's been established. I think the questions that are presented to us is two simple questions. One possibility where it's being alleged by his lawyers, not by us, that there was evidence that had that evidence been presented to the jury, the outcome of this case would have been different. And second, under California law, a path to resentencing where a prosecutor can evaluate whether someone has been rehabilitated, and if so, ask the court to determine whether the person should be resentenced. If they get resentenced, there are multiple things that could happen. They could walk out based on what the court decides, or they can have the sentence given a different shape, and perhaps they will stay on, but for a longer period, lesser period of time, or they can have a new trial. Right. Those are all options, and we will evaluate all of it. We have a hearing coming up on November 29th, and until we get there, we're not sure yet which direction this will go. Are there any questions? Oh, by the way, one of the things that I want to add too, is I think it's important that you contextualize what resentencing means. Since I've been in office, we have resentenced over 300 people. Of those, only 4 have reoffended, which is probably one of the lowest recidivism rate of any group that I'm aware of. If you do the math, and I'm here standing because if I was better at math, I would be teaching math or doing something else. It's a very low rate. In fact, if our recidivism rate for all the crimes that we face were to be that low, we would be the safest society in the world. But we're not. So just so you understand also, this concept of resentencing is a concept that we have used successfully many times, and we'll continue to do more. Any questions?
Other than the November 29th hearing.
Excuse me, I got a question. I'll get to all of you. Yes.
Given the cultural shift in how we view sexual assault, do you think that this case would have been handled differently if it was tried today?
Look, because I don't know yet the validity of all the evidence that was presented as opposed to the evidence that was not presented, I'm not here to make judgment of that, but there is no question that today would have been a greater level of sensitivity to the way the case was looked at.
You've had this evidence for over a year now. Why speak out today and now?
Well, there's combination.
All right. So we're going to step away. It's just becoming a little bit difficult to follow. But all right, they want us to stay in. Let's stay in.
Investigate this very, very carefully. Often we go back and not only do we go through all the... Yes, sir.
Other than the November 29th hearing, what's kind of the time frame or the timeline? Do you expect to make a decision after that hearing? And are you leaning towards one way or the other as far as having this resentencing?
Yeah, I'm not leaning in any direction right now. I'm keeping an open mind. We have people in the office that are looking at this very carefully, very experienced lawyers that are looking at this. That evidence will be presented to me, their recommendation will be presented to me, but the final decision will be mine. Yes, sir.
The habeas petition was filed last year, and I believe your office has been putting 90-day extensions for the hearing. Do you expect that there might be another extension, or is that November 29th hearing? Is there going to be
my intent is to be able to put finality to this, but I cannot tell you with any certainty because I still don't know how much work may need to be done. I'm still... Yes, ma'am.
Have the prosecutors handling the case given you any advice, and if so, what was that?
Look, I mean, there are differences of opinion. There are differences of opinion within the office, and that is a healthy part of the process, right? You don't want to have everybody agreeing to any one thing. I mean, one of the things that I personally do well is by listening to different opinions and different ways of looking at evidence or looking at a particular case or the law. So there are people in the office that would tell you that this case should never be neither resentenced nor habeas should be granted. There are other people in the office that believe that this should be evaluated carefully and that there may be a process there on the path. I will make the final decision based on all those conversations.
I mean, that said, though, the family has also said that they should be freed. Does that?
That's correct. The family, my understanding is that the family, by and large, would like them to be released. Yes, ma'am.
Has the increased focus on this case from the public affected your decision to re-examine this case?
Well, look, you know, when I was elected 4 years ago, I came on a very clear platform of looking at our work through a lens of a modern approach to criminal justice. And part of that is not getting simply locked up in what we did in the past, right? So there's no question that I may be more open to review things that other prosecutors may not. And that was the reason why I was elected. But I have to tell you, again, this is a careful, deliberate process. I will evaluate both the evidence that is presented by those that believe that no relief should be granted, and I will evaluate the evidence of those that believe that relief should be granted, and then I'll make a decision.
Do you
want them to stay?
You know what? I don't know the answer to that. I know that certainly there are family members that believe that they should be released, but there may be other family members that disagree. Again, that would not be uncommon. So,
is there any kind of open case regarding the Rosello allegations in the DA's office? Is there an investigation or an open case for you guys?
not that I'm aware of this moment.
Has the DA's office interviewed the Menendezes since this?
You know what? This is an ongoing investigation. We're working through their lawyers, and we'll continue to work through their lawyers. They're both represented. Okay, thank you.
¿Nos puede dar la información en español?
Sí, como que no.
Lo que
Claro.
acaba de decir.
Sí, claro.
All right, so the press conference there, moving over into a Spanish translation, just quickly, the DA wanted to let everyone know and acknowledge the existence of these two new pieces of evidence, a letter written by Erik and accusations by a former member of Menudo. They have not been vetted yet, so they have not confirmed whether those are good or real or something that they can use in a case. They said there are a couple of options if, in fact, they are shown to be real. There's a habeas option where the attorneys, which I believe it's already been filed, where the attorneys attorneys can file to have the case reopened and perhaps get a new trial, but also they could ask the prosecution to reevaluate the case as far as sentencing is concerned, looking at whether the boys had been rehabilitated. And they said in his 4 years in office, he's resentenced 300 people and only 4 have reoffended. All right. So what I want to do now is, and again, as I was saying, he had switched over to a Spanish translation for the Spanish-speaking audience out there, but he's coming back now, so let's go back now for the end of that press conference.
The election is coming up in just over a month.
No, this case has been reviewed by nearly a year. The Netflix documentary just came out recently. We have had a slew of requests and information in this case, and the hearing is coming up shortly. And we're simply addressing the questions that many of you have had for many days.
Will you be at the hearing, Dan?
I'm sorry?
Will you be at the hearing?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, cool.
Guys, there's one correction for the record. In one instance, we accidentally said that the hearing will be on the 29th. It'll be on the 26th, just for your records and for your reporting.
All right. We'll end up with that. Let's bring in our guests to discuss. Joining us this hour, criminal defense attorney Maria Pereira is with us, and trial attorney Kelly Hyman joins us as well. Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. First and foremost, I want to get your reaction to what we just heard. It seems like that this was held, and the question was asked of him, and he kind of dodged around it, but I think it was held because of the renewed interest in the case brought about by that Netflix documentary. Kelly, your thoughts?
Yes, there's been a lot discussed about this documentary and potentially the impact it's going to have on this case. It's definitely, people are very interested in this case, but this could potentially mean that they get out of jail right away or potentially have another trial and go back through it again. But sexual abuse allegations are very serious, and no matter what, it's something that we should really take into consideration.
Yeah, I agree. And the question was asked, Marie, about how things might be different today with these allegations versus then. And I think it would have been a significant difference.
Especially if they knew about the evidence they're claiming exists now. That letter, which basically was an outcry before the murders. So it would really not justify it, but like you said earlier, lessen and mitigate the reason for the murders. And then after that, they had the allegations of the young man from Menudo that basically says he too was molested by the victim. So if that was available, it might have changed the entire situation.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's interesting? I thought he was sort of laying this out there, this idea of the resentencing I found very interesting. Because to your point, if juries looked at this a little differently and say, okay, maybe you thought that your life was in danger, which we understand now because of our understanding of abuse and how abuse victims think, but yet we don't think it was objectively the right thing. Maybe they consider it a manslaughter case. Maybe they look at the resentencing and say, you know what? This might fit more into a manslaughter case rather than going through the whole spectacle of a trial and say 35 years is enough. These folks have been rehabilitated and we don't think they'll reoffend.
Does the punishment fit the crime?
Yes.
And I definitely think that's going to be key when they're reevaluating this case, especially with this new allegations of the sexual abuse and maybe potentially taking that into consideration and saying they've already done 35 years and now it's time for them to be let go.
Yeah, and I want to be clear, Marie. No, I don't think anyone is saying that the abuse by the father justifies what these boys did. But if, in fact, this shows that, in fact, they might have been telling the truth, again, it goes to their mindset in the actions that they took.
Absolutely. And until this revelation came out from the young man from Menudo, we didn't think that it was possible at all. So it made it seem like they just murdered their parents because of greed. They didn't want to be disciplined, and they just wanted money and a fast life. It changes things. Not like you said, it justifies killing a victim because he was a molester, but it certainly mitigates and it goes into the minds of the victims who are claiming to be victims of, you know, sex abuse.
Yeah, Kelly Hyman, these types of processes, writ for habeas corpus, they can take forever, a very long time. As a matter of fact, I think we heard a question there as well, where it was said that defense in this case found this letter, supposedly written by Erik, outlining or as an outcry for this abuse to his cousin about a year ago, and they filed the writ for habeas corpus, still hasn't gone through the court, still doesn't even have a response from the state. So with the latest, you know, information and the way the prosecutor seems to be looking at at it, and I think he clearly was intimating that this possibility of a resentence certainly exists. This could streamline the entire process for these guys, and they could see a second life out of prison.
Yes, and you have to think about the documentary that was done, this case in the public opinion of what kind of role did that play in this, in getting people engaged in the story and interested in the story and reaching out and ultimately potentially changing the outcome of this case.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That shows the power of these things. And Lyle spoke out that this was something negative. He was upset at the way he's portrayed. But I think at the end of the day, this could be a net positive for them because, again, bringing this to light, getting people focused on this, because as I said, this letter's been around and this accusation's been around for over a year. And folks weren't really paying attention till this whole monsters thing came out. So it was interesting.